Well, hello. I thought I'd start today. We're looking down on East Asia, actually. This is looking at temperature and the wind fields across really the Asian continent right now. The temperature field is contoured there. You can see the kind of blue, purple colors. Those are corresponding to very cold temperatures over Siberia, the warmer weather toward the south near the equator. To kind of orient ourselves, here is the islands of Japan. China is here, the Indian subcontinent down here. And there's all that cold air, very cold air, even for Siberia in December, bottled up here in northern Asia here. And it's co-located with a very, very strong high pressure system. Some of the strongest high pressure systems in the world are located over Central Asia and Siberia. You can see that spinning clockwise there, indicative of that high pressure system, at least in the northern hemisphere here. Now I'm showing you this because I think this is pretty neat. That high pressure system is kind of locked up near Kazakhstan, Central Asia, and across Siberia. But this cold air and the high pressure system associated with it is going to drop east into China. That's not an uncommon evolution for systems out there. And as this pushes in toward China on the eastern edge of the Himalayas, it's going to do something kind of interesting. And I bring it up because this is going to influence basically the rest of this video and our forecast going out into next week, the precipitation event coming for the West Coast in California. It's really kind of all starting here in East Asia. And I'll take you through this quickly. It's, to be totally honest, something I've only begun to research here lately. So hopefully I can convey some loose understanding as to what's happening. But eventually we're going to end up out into next week with a strong high pressure system here in East Asia. This is just due east of the highest mountain range in the world, the Himalayas, the Tibetan Plateau here. You can think of this almost like a third pole. You have the North Pole, the South Pole. Well, the Himalayas are so high up, they have so much ice, the high elevation here, sometimes colloquially called the third pole here. That high pressure system's on the east side. There'll be a low pressure system on the west side of those mountains. And this high pressure system is going to exert a very strong force, a pressure gradient force on the east side of those Himalayas. That air will be trapped here and it won't be able to get west due to the high elevations of the mountains here of the Himalayas and the Tibetan Plateau. This is kind of an imbalance, you could think of it. The Earth does not like imbalances, and essentially that strong pressure gradient force or that frictional force on the mountains here is going to try to slow the rotation of the Earth from the west to the east. Our Earth spins west to the east on its axis there, north to south. But it won't be successful because we're still kind of in this reference frame here. You can't slow down the rotation of the Earth, at least in terms of that angular momentum. And what's going to happen in order for that to be true is the atmosphere is going to speed up. And really for us, the jet stream is going to speed up and extend over the Pacific to make up for that imbalance, to conserve the total angular momentum of the globe. And what this all means is that we're going to get a big Pacific jet extension out into the Pacific, and that is exactly what we watch for to bring big weather systems, rainmakers, snow to the Sierras for California. It's especially true in an El Nino year, and then we also have the MJO moving through the Pacific as well. Now, it's likely these three things are all kind of tied together. It's hard to say, this one mountain torque event that I just described is kind of putting this all in motion. All these things kind of work in concert, and it's why we, look at the MJO. It's why we look at El Nino to try to find out what kind of effects it's going to have on our weather. So that's looking down at East Asia there and the temperatures. I want to zoom in here. I will show you what we're watching here in the Pacific in terms of that Pacific jet extension. So I'll start this. Let's start at Wednesday afternoon, right here when I'm recording this video. If we look across the Pacific, we have this kind of undulating, wobbly jet stream here. I'll play this forward a bit just to get us here into the weekend. And you'll see a few things. First off, we're getting a bigger ridge here blowing up over the western U.S. That's going to bring some warm temperatures, a bit of a warm up here this weekend. Not too much to mention. We do have this little low pressure system here. You might have noticed this spinning just off California. That's going to bring a rainmaker, we think, through Sunday, at least the day of, and potentially lingering into Monday. You can see that low pressure system spinning off the coast, bringing a good chance of rainfall to California, including the Central Valley, possibly all the way over through Southern California. We'll go through that kind of precipitation time frame in just a bit, and potentially a little bit of rainfall moving in to some areas that have had plenty of it recently in the Pacific Northwest. And as I'm describing this all, we're here on Monday, really kind of Sunday evening of next week here, December 17th into the 18th. And if you look to the west, you might be noticing what's happening with that Pacific jet stream. It's gaining a lot of momentum, likely due to the influence of that East Asian mountain torque event that we just walked through. And that's really going to be the theme of the forecast going out potentially here starting on the 18th, all the way getting up close to Christmas. I'll play this forward through Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday, and just an incredibly strong potent jet stream now coming off of Japan. Textbook Pacific jet extension that we watch for in these El Nino years. And if I play this a little bit forward right to the end of the forecast, we're at the end there. It really kind of has its sights set on the west coast of the U.S. You can see it kind of diving in toward California here. So what does this all mean? We're going to be watching for rainfall chances, low pressure systems coming into California. We have a system coming through likely on Sunday evening, potentially pushing into Monday as well. Likely another system coming through later in the week. And then this final, I don't even know if I want to call it a final, but at least in terms of this 10-day forecast, this very large Pacific jet extension is coming sometime between the 21st and the 24th, which is likely, if it verifies, we're still quite a ways out in the forecast to bring yet another big system to the west coast and potentially to California. We'll dive into that in just a second here. I did want to start with that temperature conversation. I showed you that upper level ridge kind of building across the western U.S. right at the beginning of this. This is looking from the National Weather Service, their daytime high temperature forecasts as kind of a gridded product here. Here's the temperatures today. What you're looking at in terms of the values and the colors, those are temperature anomalies. So what this is saying is that Montana high temperatures today on Wednesday running about 10 to 13 degrees above average here for the Golden Triangle. Still going to feel like December and winter, but a warmer December day up there. And as I take this into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, here's Saturday, December 16th, you'll notice temperatures really warming up across the board, save for everybody, maybe not here on the Oregon-Washington border, but a warm up through this weekend that should feel notable. And then that next system for at least for California and the Pacific Northwest starting to come into picture on Sunday, bringing temperatures down just a bit there, even more so on Monday and Tuesday. But still, I think kind of throughout this weekend and then into next week, temperatures will at the very least be mild, maybe not well above normal, but likely above normal, just because we're going to have these low pressure systems likely coming up in the west and these warm fronts shooting through, pushing up through the area. And maybe an orange drawer or marker is not the best on an orange temperature forecast there. That's a little more visible. We jump over and look at snowfall here. This is looking at all the snowfall we're expecting just over the next 10 days. I'm showing this first really to highlight the Sierra Nevadas. So if you look closely, heavy snowfall likely over the next 10 days in the Sierra Nevadas. That's starting probably with that first system Sunday, likely to have higher snow levels, but potentially with more systems after that, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, and then potentially a bigger one kind of out on the horizon near the end of next week. Expecting this area to pick up some nice snow totals, which is an area, if you remember, we've been talking about this a little bit, that's running below average for the date. It's too early to be talking about a bust or it's not been a great season or anything like that, especially only in mid-December here. But we're running anywhere from 12% of average to 33% of average in the Central Sierras. Northern Sierras at 36% of average. I mean, we're low here and we're due for some snowfall, and I think we're going to get that going through next week. If you look east of the Sierra Nevada into some of the other basins, including parts of the Snake River Valley Basin, parts of the Upper Colorado River Basin, running much closer to average. The story's been a little bit friendlier there, and some locations up north running just a bit below average. Plenty of time to make up for that as we go through the year. I want to double back here and actually walk you through the timing of the precipitation events. I won't go all the way out into the end of next week because we don't have a ton of details here. The first system that we are watching, not too much to write home about, but expecting something overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning to slip through the Pacific Northwest. Not expecting anything too significant there in terms of precip totals. And then that next big, I think, newsmaker in terms of system is coming during the day on Sunday. Precipitation overspreading parts of the Central Valley, especially the Sacramento Valley, likely getting some rainfall into the San Joaquin Valley. As I play this through Sunday night, could even see some precipitation getting through Southern California, at the very least the coastline here, and then trying to sneak up into Oregon and Washington at times through the day on Monday as I play that forward. Just kind of noticing here, looking at this forecast, some areas of the Sacramento Valley under rainfall chances kind of through the day on Sunday and then almost all the way through the day on Monday there. So could see some more substantial totals here, anything from 1 getting over that toward 2 inches at times. That's what we'll call the first system. It appears another system, at least from the ECMWF forecast here, is on taps for late Tuesday into Wednesday. That's the system we're looking at here. This forecast valid lunchtime earlier in the day on Wednesday with more rain overspreading, snow in the Sierra Nevadas. This system happens to have more rainfall coming through Southern California and even the lower Colorado River Valley. Now this forecast is, I think, exactly 7 days out from now. So the specifics on this one, I don't want to get too much into. We can't say for sure that this area of the lower Colorado River Valley is definitely going to get rainfall next week on December 20th, but the chances are increasing here. And just out of curiosity, let's take a peek at the GFS forecast at that same time. They just happen to have a very similar storm system, low pressure system here pushing into California, bringing snow to the Sierra Nevadas, rainfall to the Central Valley, all the way through the Southern California coastline. And as that one pushes through, maybe tries to sneak some rain here into the lower Colorado River Valley on Thursday. Again, can't take the specifics of these too seriously this far out, but the chances there, highly likely, I think, that we're going to get that system Sunday into Monday. The details on the exact rainfall amounts won't shake out until kind of we get to the eve of that. Likely that we're looking at another system kind of Tuesday into Wednesday for California. Again, details are a little murky. And then likely seeing an increased chance after that going into Friday, potentially Saturday, getting all the way toward Christmas, of another big potent system coming into the west. I wish I could give you more details than that. We have a huge Pacific jet extension likely to happen. I showed you the kind of influences there. That's likely to be coming some point next weekend. I'll have a video out by then, next Monday. I'm certain that we'll have more details. It's not something, we need to freak out about or batten down the hatches or anything, but the chances there for a more significant storm moving into parts of California. And I can't rule out, it deflecting and going a little bit more toward the north and hitting something like Oregon or Washington as well. It's just too far out to have specific details, but certainly the chance is there given what's happening in the atmosphere. This is the ECMWF precipitation forecast. I want to keep this kind of locked at that 7-day forecast. I just kind of walked you through why. If we look at the rainfall totals, not a surprise based on what I showed you with those rainfall chances extending from Sunday to Monday, even kind of lingering into Tuesday for the upper Sacramento Valley here, or northern Sacramento Valley, I should say. Kind of Redding and south, that area is seeing the highest likelihood of significant precipitation. 1, 2, the ECMWF forecast sneaking over that toward 3 inches here. Higher values along some of these coastal areas, maybe even getting into the coastal valleys as well. But rainfall, certainly measurable rainfall, getting up toward 1 inch here through the Southern California coastline. And I did show you that one system trying to push into the lower Colorado River Valley, Southern California, Imperial Valley area, just at the end there. Additional rain coming likely for western Oregon, parts of Washington, eastern Oregon, and a little bit here in the middle Snake area as well. That likely coming more on that first system Sunday to Monday, as that kind of pushes up and pulls up north, as those low pressure systems tend to do on the west coast. This is the jet stream forecast. I want to show this. This is valid. We're getting way out here in the forecast. I'll make this valid here on Christmas morning. Why not? Merry Christmas. This is way out in the forecast. I'm filming this recording on December 13th, so this is a 12-day forecast. Take this with a few grains of salt. But there's that big Pacific jet stream now inching all the way just north of Hawaii, pushing toward California. And this is kind of a textbook for a big scenario where we're going to get a storm system pushing into the California area, kind of right around that holiday time frame. That's not a verified forecast. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But looking here from the ensemble, from the ECMWF, it's certainly of heightened possibility. And if we take a look at the GFS model from that same time frame, pretty remarkable agreement. I mean, this is a 12-day forecast. There are times throughout the year where the GFS 10 to 12-day forecast, or even the 7 to 8-day forecast, is in wild disagreement with the ECMWF. That's not the case looking at these two models here. Very similar, strong Pacific jet extensions pushing through the Central Pacific into the Eastern Pacific, really with their sights set on the California coastline. Don't want to get into too many details before that on the exact day or timing, but again, there's a heightened chance for significant precipitation, Sierra Nevada snowfall, potentially gusty winds, and don't want to get too concerned with flooding right now, but that would probably be the case too with one of these more potent systems coming in to California in that same time frame. Right now, the Climate Prediction Center, they have picked up on this probability as well. We're looking at December 21st through the 27th, the 8 to 14-day precip outlook. You can see the above average precipitation anomalies here overspreading central and southern California, expanding beyond that into Arizona, Nevada, and southern Oregon as well. So they're keeping an eye on that as well. If we look at the MJO forecast over the same time frame, I think a video or two ago we were talking about the possibility of the MJO getting back out into the Pacific here in these phases 6, 7, and 8. We talked about how when it does that, we tend to get some more significant precip events into the West Coast and even California. that has come true. That is what the MJO ended up doing, getting out into the Pacific, likely having some influence on that East Asian event that we just talked about, and working in concert with El Nino to extend that Pacific jet stream. And there's El Nino, taken right here, the sea surface temperature anomalies of December 12th, just yesterday here. There are those warm ocean temperatures spreading out over into the central tropical Pacific. That's El Nino. We tend to get these Pacific jet extensions, or at least an amplification of that subtropical jet stream, bringing more rainfall into California. We've talked about how this wasn't maybe playing the biggest role in the atmosphere at times. We weren't seeing a textbook El Nino pattern. Well, it seems to have finally arrived. We're still kind of in that 7 to 10 day fog of war, if you will, where the exact details need to be ironed out, but chances are increasing for a big Pacific jet extension event pushing into California. More details will certainly be out by the time of the recording of this video next Wednesday. It's possible this thing could trend down. That's just the reality of forecasting the weather. These numerical weather prediction models, which are keying in on that Pacific jet extension, are not perfect. They're certainly not perfect as you get 7, 10, or even 12 days out in the forecast. We're 12 days from Christmas. So do not take this forecast as 100% truth, but at the same time be aware that there is that heightened probability of rainfall, perhaps significant, pushing into California over the next kind of 6 to 14 day window there. I did want to mention about the forecast just a little bit beyond that. It feels silly to try to forecast beyond 12 days, right? As I just gave a big disclaimer for the 8 to 14 day forecast. But nonetheless, I did want to show you some signals here. We're seeing some hints. It's been pretty mild here across the west at times. We have had the San Joaquin Valley dealing with some light freeze events at times and some freeze warnings. But the forecast, at least going forward, likely to remain mild as these kind of systems swing through in the meantime through the weekend and then out into next week. But there is some hints, if we go out far enough in the ensemble forecast here past Christmas, of some colder weather trying to sneak into parts of the western U.S. And then the ECMWF weeklies that have come out recently have really keyed in on early January, potentially right at the end of December, for a big cold snap event on the western U.S. Now, you just heard the big disclaimer about forecasting 12 to 14 days out, but they've been really aggressive on this cold snap here. Enough such that, I want to mention it as a possibility. I'll be keeping an eye on this. Hope to have another update here Wednesday when it'll start to get into the range of our more typical numerical weather prediction models, the global models, the ECMWF, the GFS, which will start to be able to pick up on it by next Wednesday. But just want to put it on your radar that it is something I'm keeping an eye on, the chance for a cold snap here. Really kind of the end of December, New Year's Eve, getting into that first week of January here. I think that's everything I had here today. Again, it's something where we'll have more details on that kind of final Pacific Jet Extension event next Wednesday. In the meantime, we have a warm up here this weekend, likely getting that California precipitation, in that last or that third week of the month that we were kind of hoping for. That seems to be coming here Sunday into Monday, potentially looking at another event shortly after that, Tuesday into Wednesday. Those two likely to be more run-of-the-mill precipitation events, bringing snowfall to the Sierra Nevadas. But again, we're watching the potential for perhaps a more significant event coming after that, getting a little bit closer to the holiday, proper Christmas Eve and Christmas. That's all I have for you guys here this evening. Thank you for watching, and until next Wednesday.